Hard Hat Hockey, welcome in. It is August 11th in the afternoon on a Sunday. Boys, we got a show for you today. We got my man Grant Miller. Grant from Columbus, talk to me, baby.
Feeling good, Trent. It's a beautiful Sunday here in Columbus. Nice weather, no humidity. It's been gorgeous. Did a bunch of yard work earlier today. We're recording a little later in the afternoon than we usually are. We're usually a morning pod. This is more of a late afternoon, so had a busy day, and now I'm kind of winding down a little bit with a little hard hat hockey.
Absolutely. It's the only way to do it. And tying up our regional representation across the United States, we've got the West Coast covered. We've got Midwest covered. Now let's get northern, kind of northwestern covered. We got our boy, fellow Fighting Scot, Mitch Czerniak, coming out of Montana at Glacier National Park, right, Mitchell?
Yes, sir. What's up, boy? Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah,
Super
of
excited
course.
about today.
Mitch played football with us at the College of Worcester. We were all in the same fraternity. He's here to talk, to wrap up the Metropolitan Division, but specifically his insights on the Pittsburgh Penguins, being a longtime fan and Northeast Ohio native from the region, Rust Belt guy through and through, blue collar heart, and big fan of Sid the Kid throughout his entire career. So we got all things Metro coming to you and some fun stuff along the way, to include Hockey Team Kaboom, the train station, housekeeping, primers, and of course our hard hats of the week, always sponsored by Leroy's Bar. Boys, let's kick this off. Little creativity out of the gate. I got a question for all the fans across the country. Tell me, given all the outdoor games we've had over the years now, the most obscure yet awesome place for a hockey game. I'll kick this off, and it doesn't have to be, best place for a crowd or necessarily make sense logistically. So I went with the Parthenon in Athens, Greece. I think that'd be pretty epic. The hometown of the Olympics. That's where they started. And seeing as we're tying up the Olympics today, I'd like to see a hockey game in Athens. I think that'd be sick. Who's got a better answer?
Trent, would have thought you were with the answer there. That's a good one, though. I got to go. I don't want to mispronounce this town, but it's called Barrow, Alaska. I don't know if you're familiar. It's like the most northern point of the United States. Their high school football team up there has like a blue field, and it's right by the Arctic Sea. And it was one of those things that like ESPN every like 4 years would go up and visit there and be like, football at the North Pole? Oh my God. And then they, visit the town. But yeah, we should do the Winter Classic up there on the blue football field.
I'd probably pay money for that. Mitchell?
Boys, this is a good question. I honestly, you'd be amazed. Like, so when I moved to Western Montana, like, I was thinking hockey was going to be super big here, and it's actually not. It's crazy because it's like freaking so cold here in the winter, and yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be cool to have one in like one of the national parks up here in Western Montana, dude. Like one of the lakes. Just get a tilt going. You know what I'm saying? That'd be fun. Because I think the people up here in Montana need hockey. Like, I talk hockey all the time with these folks around here, and I feel like no one knows about hockey around here. They need a team up here for sure.
Let's get an outdoor rink going next to Old Faithful. Just all the whole time. You got a geyser erupting, every couple of minutes.
That'd be sick.
That'd be sick. Okay. Moving right along today, we're going right into Hockey Team Kaboom. Hockey Team Kaboom is sponsored by Roseville Skate Town, Northern California's premier home for men's league hockey at all levels. Sign up today and receive your complimentary skate sharpening and free case of Moosehead Lager for your men's league heroes. Fun fact, the men's league winter session is about to kick off, and I am signed up and ready to go. Boys,
we're rooting for you, Trent.
I can't wait. Can't wait to get back out there. Hockey Team Kaboom today, the category is Waffle House menu items. If you're like any of us, you've probably been to a Waffle House, maybe Sunday morning after church. Maybe you've stumbled into one on a night that, got a little gray. I don't know, but no judgment whatsoever. The thing is, Waffle House is iconic to most Americans, so I thought it was very appropriate today. First and foremost, I got the chocolate chip waffle. Essentially a dessert. Chocolate chips are spread out all over on top, melting into the little pockets in the surface of the waffle. You're left with gooey, creamy chocolate that goes perfectly with the thick, slightly crisp waffle. Very satisfying, slightly sweet. Grant, we'll start with you. Which NHL team is Waffle House's chocolate chip waffle?
So yeah, you nailed this. It is just a dessert item. Not a fan of it. I think less of anyone that orders it, unless you're like a child. So with that in mind, this is the Las Vegas Golden Knights. It's just dessert. It's showy. It's, I don't even know if you can say it's real, like what are you doing? Finesse. It's not going to get you where you need to go by the end of the night. You might think it looks good, but come on, you're fooling yourself.
Harsh words out of Columbus for the chocolate chip waffle. All right. Mitch.
Oh man, I was thinking the same exact thing. Vegas Golden Knights. Flashy, right? Kind of exciting if you're into that. Quick.
There's always one at the tables. You have a group going, like someone's like, oh, I'll do waffle. And then like, you're like, can I do chocolate chips on it? And then it's like, it immediately turns it into like cake.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead, go the peanut butter route. That's savory. That's wholesome. That's America.
Well, speaking of savory, I got a savory option for you. Let's try to save this. All right. How about sausage, egg, and cheese hash brown bowl, a thick layer of hash browns that provide more than enough carbs for a meal. Then comes the melted cheese. Then scrambled eggs and sausage are piled on top to create a mountain of breakfast goodness. This is bulking season right here. Okay. What do you got for me?
Okay. So you nailed it. This is a lot of food. You do not come gently towards this Waffle House menu item. I went through a big phase of this. My later college years into young adulthood, this was my go-to. Here's the thing. It needs hot sauce. It needs a little spice. That alone is not going to be, it's going to be too much in a way that's not particularly satisfying. So this is the Carolina Hurricanes. It needs a little spot. It needs a little bit of hot sauce. It needs a little bit of juice. It's going to overwhelm you. Listen, if you're an away team going into Raleigh, buckle up. You're going to get 55 shots at you in the first period, and you're going to hang on for dear life. You need to get a water, and you need to pace yourself with that.
This is going to require a little bit of salsa. That salsa
this year, so much food.
Gonna have to be
so much.
Salsa for the Canes. Going to have to be a Jack Drury or a Jack Rossovic, as we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Go check out that episode. Go right now. Mitch?
Man, this one's tough. I want to say the Penguins, right? Because you think of like a hearty, gritty, frickin' awesome type style of breakfast. But lately, man, Pens have not been, living up to that standard.
That's fine.
So.
And we do more to overall vibes here on the show. So like I get what you're getting at. Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah. I could buy that. So speaking of the Pens got a lot of all-stars on the team. Let's go to our final kaboom topic here. We got the All-Star Special, which, like I've said, if you're familiar with a Waffle House experience, you are very familiar with the All-Star Special. The thing takes up half the menu. You'll start off with a waffle of your choice. Don't make it chocolate chip or you're going to piss off Grant. Then you add in a plate of protein. You can choose between sausage or bacon. Finally, add in the main breakfast plate.
Ham. They have ham as an option too.
There you go.
Call it city ham. Yeah.
Add in the main breakfast plate that boasts eggs, toast, and a side of your choice. Most people get either grits or hash browns. It has a bit of a cult following, and you're walking away filled up with the All-Star Special.
Similar to the bowl, this is also a lot of food. But this is kind of like, this is the premier breakfast.
I'd say, yeah, the difference is this is a little more iconic, right?
Yeah, this is, if you think of like a home style American breakfast, this is it. So it kind of covers everything. They do it well. You got to give it up to the Stanley Cup champions. I mean, this is the Florida Panthers. It does everything. It does absolutely everything. And you can't go wrong. If someone comes up to me and says, Grant, I'm picking the Panthers to win the cup again this year, I'm saying, yeah, I totally get it. It does everything. We're at a Waffle House and you're like, I think I got to do the All-Star. I totally get it. It's doing everything for you.
Not going to judge you for that decision. Mitch, what do you got?
You might judge me for this decision. You ready for this one? So,
I'm ready.
Okay, I'm thinking All-Star Special, right? Super traditional. Generations of families love it, right? It's deep-rooted. A lot of good things with this meal. I'm going to go with the Canadians, man. Like, Canadians have been around, done their thing. Super successful, traditional. I'm going to go with the Canadians.
I like that pick. Most Stanley Cups of all time screams All-Star Special to me. I tell you what, I'm going to jump in on this one. Actually, I don't usually do this, but I'm feeling spicy today. All-Star Special. I'm going Dallas Stars. You think Jamie Benn's coming at you. Oh, now it's Wyatt Johnston. Oh, now it's Jason Robertson. Oh, Tyler Seguin's awake. Oh, here comes Miro Heiskanen. Right? It's just, there's all kinds of layers to this that just keep coming. And it's like, I get through one, it's, damn, there's another one, right? So
when you guys go to Waffle House, what do you like to add stuff to the hash browns?
of course.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. What do you guys usually add?
Oh, gravy.
Cheese.
Ooh, gravy. Okay, nice shot. Ooh. I used to add gravy to the bowl that we just talked about. It makes it even heavier. Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
All right, it's all good. The T-bone steak, that's the Minnesota Wild. You're gonna regret it.
That's a good.
I don't know. Not too many places have the T-bone steak anymore, but there was a time where you could get like a choice T-bone steak at a Waffle House.
All right, let's move right along here. We got the transaction train station. All aboard, boys. Strap in for a very short ride. Not a whole lot of transactions this week. The only one notable, I'd say, was Oliver Killington coming over to the Colorado Avalanche. Sweet. Signed a 1 year by $1 million deal. He's 27 years old. Last year he played 33 games, had 8 points. He did have a negative Corsi, a negative Fenwick, missed most of the season. January 25th of this past season was his first game in 18 months. I gotta think that him coming over to the Avs had a little something to do with his Swedish background. Fun fact, on my honeymoon a year ago, we went to see the Swedish Hockey League. The team was called the Djurgårdens, and it took me forever to figure out how to pronounce that name. Oliver Killington played for the Djurgårdens with Gabriel Landeskog way back when. So I got to think there's some connection here. It's not by coincidence that he's coming over to the Avs. This was not the most popular move. I mentioned that he missed 18 months. He missed 18 months into the NHL Players Association mental health assistance program, got the help that he needed, was supposed to come back to Calgary this past season, assuming since they were patient with him during that process and still paying him, he chose to leave as an unrestricted free agent and start anew with a new home in Denver with the Colorado Avalanche. So I understand some Calgary Flames fans are not super happy with his departure, given their patience with him during that process. But as an Avs fan, before this past season, which was kind of rough, he had a lot of positives to look forward to. Traditionally, a positive Corsi 4 guy, a positive Fenwick guy, a guy who drives play. So I'm hoping that this past season was just an outlier and he can continue to add for a blue line that is pretty satisfactory, but we will always take more talent where we can get it, obviously. Any thoughts here? We don't have to spend a whole much time on it.
You nailed it.
Okay.
I mean, this is your wheelhouse. I will say, good job covering that. You're squeezing water out of a rock here with the transactions this time of year. We knew this was coming. We said, hey, it's going to slow down a little bit. Speaking of slowing down, word on the street is the Jackets are struggling to find a trade partner for Patrick Laine. So don't be surprised if camp starts and he's still in Columbus.
Oh yeah. And we said that last week too.
But it's getting to the point where they're like, oh yeah, like no one's picking up the phone.
They may have to pay for a partner.
Easily. Yeah. I mean, at this point, I think that's like a bare minimum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. That's it for the train station this week. Let's jump on to NHL housekeeping. Let's clean it up. Again, nothing happened, so that's okay. We'll jump right into what we want to talk about, which is Team USA. I figured this was appropriate. Again, Olympics wrap up today. Upcoming, though, the Four Nations face-off in February, and just a year after that, the Olympics for Team USA hockey. And the NHLers will be playing for the first time in 12 years, 16 years. I don't know. It's been forever. I don't even know what NHLers and Team USA hockey look like at this point. So let's talk about it. We're not going to project the whole team. We'll do that for another episode one day, but we're going to go around the table. Each of us are going to pick one player that we expect to be on the team and would love to see also perform and score some goals, hopefully. So I got Jack Hughes coming out of New Jersey. I think this guy is primed for a huge bump. He's already an NHL All-Star, and I expect him to elevate even more moving forward. And I'm going to give myself a bonus pick here, too, because I love Jeremy Swayman. I think he's going to be the starting goalie. Who's got it?
Swayman's a good pick. That's good. I like that. I don't see him on these like projected rosters as much as I did 4 years ago, which is slightly concerning, but like I want Goudreau to be there because that would imply that he's doing good for the Jackets, right? I mean, that's how that would work. If he's performing well with the CBJ, he'll get the call to play with the USA. But I don't know. He might be on the outside looking in right now, but I don't want that to be the case.
Yeah. I will say the projections I've seen, I haven't seen him. I've seen him on a couple outside looking, like the 13th, 14th forward, like healthy scrap guy. I've seen that a few times, but I haven't seen
I want him to like be hot out of the gate this year to where it's like, you can't keep this guy off the ice. That's what I'm hoping to speak into existence here.
Mitch?
Thinking John Carlson, defender. Austin Matthews, obviously a good one. Dark horse there, guy we know, JT Miller, center.
Hey, okay.
I'd like to see him. I like to see him on US. How sick would that be? Guy we
There you
know,
go. That's a good pick.
On the USA roster team, that'd be sick.
Yeah, JT had a big year last season, obviously, for the Vancouver Canucks. I think he's poised to plug in at least as the second or third line center behind, obviously, an Austin Matthews and maybe a Jack Hughes. I had a question here for you all. I totally suspect that both Tkachuk boys are going to make this team. Do we overvalue one of them versus the other? And here's what I mean by that. I think we've got this player in Brady Tkachuk who's kind of under the radar because he's played on a relatively disappointing Ottawa Senators team. Matthew Tkachuk, obviously in the spotlight with an awesome Florida Panthers team. I think Brady has yet to show the NHL what he's really made of. And I look for this guy to really take the stage and own it with Team USA. And maybe this projectiles him into the hottest trade rumors of the year. Any thoughts there? Pure speculation, but I just want to see if anybody maybe wanted to spark that fire with me.
I don't think you're off on thinking Brady's got a higher ceiling. I think that's a fair take. I think we need to start seeing it, but I think that's a decent take.
I think you can see it clearly. No one sees the Senators play though. It's the problem.
Yeah. Even in Canada sometimes.
Yeah. Senators that's a tough fan base, man. Like the arena is not logistically the most prime spot for
not easy to get to.
It's not easy to get to, right? So that causes issues. They're not the best covered team for NHL media. We'll put it that way. So cool. That's all we need to spend time there. NHL housekeeping. We'll wrap that up for the week. House was pretty clean. Again, it wasn't very dirty to start with. Let's go right into the preseason primers. We'll finish up the Metropolitan Division this week. Kicking off with the New York Rangers, the Blue Shirts. This past season, they finished first in the division. GM Chris Drury, head coach Peter Lavallee, cap space working with $600,000. Notable moves. They signed Ryan Lindgren on the blue line, $1.45 million. Braden Schneider, 2 years by $2.2 million. Capo Caco got a 1-year deal, $2.4 million. Got to think this is his last chance to stay with the Blue Shirts and prove that he belongs. They continued to trade a 2027 second round and a 2025 fifth round pick for Riley Smith from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who we'll talk about later. Key forwards for this team. Panarin, he's 32. He makes a boatload. Zibanejad, 31, $8.5 million. Chris Kreider, 33. Trocheck, 31. Alexis Lafreniere. You got to think, given the age outside of Lafreniere there, this is the time to capitalize. If the Rangers are going to do it, this is it. Because you've got a contract looming in the shadows for goaltender Igor Shesterkin, and there's already rumors and talks with his agents that suggest that he wants to be the highest paid player in the NHL. When that comes around, your Stanley Cup window is pretty much, I don't want to say it's over, but Grant, as we've discussed, it's diminished significantly. This has got to be the year if they're going to capitalize.
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll be at the top of the Metro again. I think they're going to, have certain runs where they look unbeatable, and we'll see. I mean, it's you can kind of talk yourself into circles sometimes with the NHL. Sometimes it is simple enough as like, hey, the team's talented. I think they're going to be fine. We'll have to wait until the playoffs to really see. But that's a really boring answer because like the playoffs are like a long ways away. I want to watch this team right now. I want to see what this team could do right now. But how they do in October and November isn't how you're going to define this season. Some teams that is going to be the case. They'll need to get a hot start, and we'll have to see what do. And I think we're going to talk about a couple teams like that later today. But the Rangers are kind of in a class where I just kind of say, unless they just bottom out, I'm not going to read too much into their performance because I just trust them.
Key defensemen. You got Adam Fox, 26, $9.5 million. Jacob Trouba, 30 years old, $8 million. We'll get into him a little bit.
He loves his wife.
Lindgren, Braden Schneider, as we discussed, and Keandre Miller is 24. Nice piece there. Something to build around. Not many going on here for the Stanley Cup poised New York Rangers. 24, $3.8 million. That's the last year of his contract as well. That's also going to see a significant raise if they want to keep him around. Big picture looking in. They were 7th in goals and 7th in goals against. That's solid for a team of 32 teams at this point and looking to expand even further. We haven't talked about that yet. Their expected goals differential dips significantly in March and April. So that's how many goals they expect to score versus how many goals the other team is expected to score. So essentially, if that's in the negative, your opponent is expected to score more than you. And I think we saw that play out in each round of this year's playoffs. Igor Shesterkin just sat on his head, which is why they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. But in a lot of those,
it felt unsustainable the whole time.
It felt unsustainable. In a lot of those games, it was clear, especially in the Hurricane series. Yeah. To their point, that's how they play. But still, they were dominated in possession and shots on goal for many of the games that they pulled a victory out of, large in part due to the play of Igor Shesterkin. There were big factors in that, though. The Blake Wheeler injury, the Philip Hedl injury. That guy can fly and is a playmaker. They severely missed him down the stretch. Capo Caco dipped. Again, I wonder if he can ever sustain it in his young career. This Igor Shesterkin contract is going to be a huge question mark all season. I could see that going north of even $13 million, as the last I heard. Finally, you've got woes with your captain, Jacob Trouba. Pretty hostile sequence of events in the playoffs. We saw some attempted murder play out in the
Messier Leadership Award winner.
Mark Messier Leadership Award winner in Jacob Trouba. As soon as the season ended, they asked him to submit a short list of teams he would be willing to be traded to. That is always a telltale sign that they are thinking about moving you, and as the captain, that's not good. Go ahead.
The context is like what he doesn't want to move, and he said like, well, his wife has like a residency in New York, and they like it there, so like he's not going to leave unless he has to. That's basically his take.
What's the short list? What did he pick?
I don't think it's public. I don't think it's ever been made public.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever published. But
I don't know if he really gave them much to work on. I mean, it could have very easily just been like the Islanders and the Devils, based on everything he said. Where it's like, no, it has to be around here.
Yeah, that's kind of fishy. That's kind of bad locker room juju, dude. Not good.
With all that considered, I think that the woes of the captain trade rumors are something they're going to have to overcome early, because that's going to take a toll in the locker room. That's going to be a little bit awkward. Why would you want to play for a team that's actively shopping you around? I wouldn't.
I think, well, you're right. I mean, you're right. The way this got public, but like at the end of the day, also like you got to be a pro, and like a lot of guys are being shopped around. That's just the nature of the league. So like, if there's a team, I get where I don't want to step on your point here. Like, I think where you're going to lead this is these guys are still really talented. The Metro doesn't have a super clear other team that they got to contend with. And if there's ever a team that's just going to like power through this with speed and goals and good goaltending, it's going to be the Rangers, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what you nailed it. That's exactly where I was taking this. This is it. I think that this is the kind of their last shot at the Stanley Cup window, frankly, because of the pay raises that are going to be due to Keandre Miller, which he's 24. If for sustained success, you're not going to let him walk. You want to extend that. And Igor Shesterkin. I don't foresee them letting him walk either. They're going to pay up on this massive contract expectation. When that occurs, they're going to have to lose talent out the door through the likes of one of these 30-year-olds in their forward core that I already listed.
These guys got kind of old kind of quickly.
Quick. It happened
it's
fast,
crazy
right?
that Kreider's 30.
It's like we blinked and all of a sudden they're like, they're in the back half of their window. So because of the nature of the Metro, like you said, I don't think there's really another realistic threat. I think they get first in the division. We'll see where they go in the playoffs. Once you make the playoffs, obviously roll the die, anything can go. But yeah, we'll see. They need to capitalize now. And I think Chris Drury realizes that. All right, let's go down the street. Let's go to Long Island. I got the New York Islanders. They finished third in the Metropolitan Division, seemingly stuck in the sand. Some would argue where they're stuck in the sand is not necessarily a bad spot in the sand because they continue to make the playoffs, but a lot would argue that where they're at in the sand also is never going to win them a Stanley Cup. They brought in new head coach Patrick Waugh, bringing a lot of passion and fire from his time in the NHL. Most winningest goalie of all time. Fun fact. Cap space $0. They are maxed out. They have no cap.
Hey, scared money don't make money.
Exactly. Significant moves. They signed Anthony Duclair 4 years by $3.5 million, Mike Riley 1 year by $1.25 million, and Oliver Wahlstrom 1 year, $1 million. So I said significant moves. They didn't really do anything that significant outside of Anthony Duclair because they couldn't do anything significant. Their key forwards, Matt Barzal, he's 27, believe it or not. I feel like he's been in the league forever. $9.15 million. Bo Horvat.
That's like the opposite of how I feel about Kreider.
I would agree with that. I thought he was older. Bo Horvat came over from Vancouver 2 years ago. He's now 29, $8.5 million. Anders Lee, 34, $7 million last year of that contract. So we'll see what it looks like post this season, seeing it's clearly the back half of his career. Notre Dame alumni, have you? And Brock Nelson, 32, last year at $6 million. Wonder if they don't try to move him. And I wonder if he's not a dark horse candidate to center maybe a fourth line for Team USA. We will get into that later.
Good little cookie crumble there, Trent.
Yeah. You like that?
Yeah.
On the blue line, you got Ryan Pulock, 29, $6.15 million. Adam Pelech, 29, $5.75 million. And Noah Dobson, 24, $4 million. Keys to success here. You got Ilya Sorokin in that. He's got an $8 million deal. He's going to have to improve upon his 3 goals against average last season. They have unrestricted free agents, so no contracts yet for Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin. They're 35 and 36 respectively. Long-time blue-collar, fourth-line guys who just muck it up. Kind of been...
That was their identity.
I was just going to say
their identity was guys like Clutterbuck. Like they had Johnny T there for a while, and I think they were like, obviously everyone on Long Island wishes he would have, chosen them. But like even, before he really exploded and after, like their identity was guys like you said, like Matt Martin and Clutterbuck, and that was what you expected to see. Is just like this team winning games in like the dog days of winter and just huddled around the top 3 spot in the Metro.
Exactly. So, and these are 2 guys who fan favorites are loved, but if you want to get out of being stuck in the sand, like we mentioned, I think you got to let go of guys like this who are anchors at this point. Cut off those anchors and start to move forward as best you can, which I realize is limited for a team that has $0 in cap space.
That's the big one. That's the big one.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we were talking a little off mic a bit about like the Islanders, and it's like, they are competitive. They are good. They're tough to play against. I think a lot of teams would, trade places with them in terms of like playoff berths. But when you factor in like no cap space, and correct me if I'm wrong, like, do they have like a young guy that you're like, oh, when he gets some ice time, he'll be like their next guy? Like, do they have like a next, like Anders Lee waiting in the wings? I'm not super familiar with their roster though.
A guy like Oliver Wahlstrom, he's on restricted free agency status. He's maybe a guy who can spark some fire.
It's a tough spot to be. It feels like they're kind of up against it.
And let me say, I don't hate their roster by any means. They've got some good players. I'm a huge
balance.
Brock Nelson's a great player. I just don't think this team is anywhere realistically close to a Stanley Cup. And because of that, and because of the age of their core forwards, they're not going to win the cup anytime soon with that either. Like they'll continue to make the playoffs, just not, they're not going to be as effective as they.
And this is a team that really gets hurt. Like they really do get hurt by the way the playoffs are structured these days. I feel like maybe back in the day when it was just top 8, a team like the New York Islanders might like sneak a series win, get hot, take advantage of a good matchup. If you're if you're just playing another top team in the Metro, you got to run into like Carolina or, Rangers. That's tough. You're up against it immediately.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think they also have some inflated points at the end of each regular season because of the division. The Metro at this point is very murky. I don't think they see as highly competitive games as maybe some of the other divisions. And because of that, they're making the playoffs with these stats. 22nd in goals for per game, 19th in goals against, negative Corsi for all season. So those are clearly numbers that are below average. They're below the halfway point for 32 teams in the NHL. Halfway would be 16th. They're not even close to that. They're 22nd and 19th respectively in overall offense and defense. Yet they're making the playoffs. So it's kind of inflated there, which is why when they make the playoffs, it's no secret that they can't find sustained success. And they typically are a first round exit. Let's be honest. So with that, I think they make the playoffs again. I think they finish third again in this division. I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. They do have talent because it's Brock Nelson's last year of his deal. I think you try to get as much value for that guy as you possibly can, which would be pretty significant at the deadline for a team that has a realistic shot at a run here. Trade him $6 million in space, go get some draft picks and start to not rebuild, start to retool around what you can. Any thoughts?
It's not easy.
I agree with that.
It's not easy to do.
It's not. Fun fact, Mitch and I saw the Islanders play the Pittsburgh Penguins in the first round of the playoffs a couple years back. We went to game 3 at the time it was PPG Porter Paints Arena, and we saw the Pittsburgh Penguins lose 3-1 in pretty mundane fashion, some pretty horrific goaltending with Matt Murray was the starter at the time. But we wanted to mention this goal specifically. The one goal that the Penguins did score was just an accumulation of stress and tension in the entire arena, and it just exploded. The most blue-collar goal I've ever seen live. It hit every steel mill and coal factory on the way in, and the place erupted. So that was really cool to at least see one goal in Pittsburgh and how that crowd reacts. Great fan base, which brings us right into the Pittsburgh Penguins. Mitch, you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, boys, I'm excited. It's kind of like same conversation we were having for the past couple of years. Like, all right, well, we got Crosby, we got Malkin, we got Letang. Honestly, I was reading the Athletic article on the Penguins the other day, and guess who's like second in terms of like going to get fired within the first few weeks of the season? Mike Sullivan.
The seat's hot, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, hot as can be. And I don't know, just looking at the moves that they made and the things that it's tough as a Penguins fan because like you want to hang on and continue to try to hang on that Crosby, Malkin, Letang history and tradition there, but I'm looking forward to just seeing how everything plays out and seeing it looks like we have decent amount of cap space to work with. So I don't know. Hockey's so crazy. Hockey can go one way or the other. And there's a lot of momentum and camaraderie based upon how things go throughout the season. So, who knows?
It's a good point.
I don't know.
That's a very good point.
Yep.
Continuity plays a huge role in how teams
100%.
perform.
All right. Let's give the baseball card stats here. So they finished 5th in the Metropolitan Division. GM Kyle Dubas, his second season coming over from the Toronto Maple Leafs. Head coach on the hot seat, Mike Sullivan, and $2.7 million in cap space. Notable moves this offseason. They signed Matt Grzelcyk coming over from the Boston Bruins. They let him walk. 1 year, $2.75 million. Anthony Beauvillier, 1 year, $1.25 million. He's bounced around the past couple seasons. I know he had a stint there with the Islanders as well. Backup goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic, 2 years, $2.5 million. And then we spoke to the trade earlier covering the New York Rangers. Pens acquire Riley Smith from the New York Rangers for that 2027 second and a 2025 fifth. They also acquired Kevin Hayes and a second round pick for future considerations from the Blues. And I think ultimately that means please take this contract and here's a draft pick in the process. Thanks for taking him. We'll consider you in the future. So Kevin Hayes, longtime fan favorite, big heart energy guy. Wonder if he has, much to offer at this point in his career, but, hopefully he can, maybe find a spark in between Crosby and Malkin there. We'll see. like Mitch said, you never know. Especially with this room of old veterans, and we'll get to that in a second. Key forwards: Sidney Crosby, 37 years old, $8.7 million. Evgeni Malkin, 38 years old, $6.1 million. Brian Rust is 32. Ricard Raquel is 31, $5 million. I think there's 5 years left on that deal. And then we just mentioned Kevin Hayes. On defense, you got Erik Karlsson is 34, $10 million. Chris Letang is 37, $6.1 million. Ryan Graves is 29, $4.5 million. 4 years left on this deal, and I think that's one that they regret immediately. In net, Tristan Jarry is 29 for $5.38 million. He has to improve. Last year had a .900 save percentage. That is not going to cut it. Their Corsi for and expected goals was pretty hot at the start of last season, and all you saw was a steady decline through and they never spiked again. And I think that is reflective in their age, and just seeing this steady decline of older players. Fun fact, the Pittsburgh Penguins are the oldest team in North American sports, not just the NHL. The next oldest team in North America are the Los Angeles Dodgers. So,
so you're saying they're old.
Here's the deal. This team on paper has a lot of massive names that have been in the league for a very long time. Obviously, that's no secret. That's why they're still in Pittsburgh. Can they put it together for a game and play lights out? Absolutely. They all have that ceiling. Most of them have been NHL All-Stars at one point or another in their career. Can they sustain it for 82 games at this point? Probably not. Because of that, the long talks are Sidney Crosby and what he's going to do. And I think it's pretty much up to him, and everything points to him re-signing in Pittsburgh. I'll say this, though. Unless it's a team-friendly deal, I'm not seeing a clear path to any kind of playoff berth with the cap that they have committed to guys over the age of 30 years old at this point. You also got Lars Eller, who I didn't mention, at 35 years old down the center. You had 11 players over the age of 30. We're not moving fast in the fast direction, if that makes sense. Before we move on to a positive note, would you all like to wrap up the negative notes that I feel bad? I love the city of Pittsburgh and this fan base, and I have so much respect for this team, and I don't want it to feel like I'm just crapping on the parade. I'm being realistic. I'm sorry. I don't.
No, we can. We can. Keep doing it.
Super realistic.
This is great.
I know Grant loves this, being a CBJ fan.
No, man, this is super realistic, and it sucks to hear, but it's all but everything, it's truthful. So what are you gonna do?
Mitch, we talked about what you see in the offseason with teams that finish lower in the standings. If you see a clear path for them or not, right? A team like the San Jose Sharks or even the Columbus Blue Jackets at this point, they may finish low in the standings this season, but I see a clear path for these guys because of the talent that they've acquired, the ceiling that they have. I don't see a path for this team right now because they're kind of hamstrung with the age of effectively this nursing home that they have that they're stuck with.
I'm with you too. I mean, like if you were the GM or even if the owner or whoever, like you're in a tough spot, dude. Like, are you going to be the one that's gets rid of these guys? It's a tough spot.
You're going to get crucified in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely crucified.
You can't even really talk about it, can you? Like, is the conversation being had on like Pittsburgh, like Penguins, like media and stuff?
That's a great question. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's not. Yeah, I mean Pittsburgh is a loyal city, hardworking city, and they brought these guys brought a handful of Stanley Cup championships to the city, so it's just like, yeah, man, I don't blame you. And I honestly, I think why Mike Sullivan's kept his job for so long because I thought he was going to get fired last year. To be completely honest.
I did too.
Mike Sullivan, John Cooper, Jared Bednar, I think are the top 3 longest tenured coaches in the NHL. And that's with the Pens, Lightning, and Abs, respectively. That's how much coaching turnaround we've seen over the last couple seasons. Yeah, I hope they can figure it out. I know Kyle Dubas had a goal going into this offseason to get younger. I think it's safe to say that goal has not been achieved.
I would agree with that, Trenton.
Let's talk about the positives, though. We've got
It's an easy thing to say, but it's not. It's yeah.
3 positives to look for in the future. I didn't expect the Pittsburgh Penguins to capitalize on draft picks and have some nice blue chip prospects in the scaffolds and the waiting. Did you? Did anybody else? Well, let's talk about him. Braden Yeager, 19 years old, signed his entry-level contract. He was drafted 14th in the 2023 draft. He had 95 points in 57 games last season with the Moose Jaw Warriors. That's very impressive. That's what you want to see for a guy.
Trent went digging for these, man. We're talking Moose Jaw?
Well, here's the thing. I knew this was going to come across just like a crap parade on the city of Pittsburgh. And I felt bad. So I wanted to end on a positive note. Okay. Moose Jaw Warriors.
It would be mean to like have Trent or have Mitch join us, talk his favorite team.
Exactly.
Just the whole time. It's just Trent be like, they're bad. They should feel ashamed of themselves. They've ruined 4 years of Crosby. Those fans deserve better. Sullivan shouldn't have a job.
Sidney Crosby.
Mitch, your thoughts.
Sidney Crosby should be playing with Nathan McKinnon in Denver. And that's where I'm kidding. Tristan Brose, 40 points in 43 games with the University of Denver last year. That was a national championship team. 40 points in the NCAA. That's a great season because they play probably half the games that junior leagues do in Canada. And then you got Tanner Howe, 77 points in 68 games in the WHL. So you've got some nice pieces here that you are looking forward to in the near distant future. Unfortunately, Mitch, we got to get some of these old guys out of the way so that these 3 can come up and play. So time to make some space, make some room. Let's get these blue chip prospects going, and maybe we can salvage Mike Sullivan his job.
Yeah, we'll see, Trent. I mean, these are all good stats, and I appreciate the positivity there at the end. It will be interesting to see, and I can't wait. Hockey's so much fun, and love talking with you boys. So matters.
My prediction for the Pittsburgh Penguins, I've got them in 7th place because that was frankly the last position I had remaining after the whole Metropolitan preview. But I think there's bound to be some injuries. I think there's bound to be some decline on the speed given the age of some of these guys. Specifically, Malkin really worries me. We kind of saw him tail off through last season, and I don't expect a big turnaround this season. So, like I said, this is a team that on any given night can put it together because they have that experience and that talent. They just got to be able to sustain it. Injuries might be a factor. But also, let me just say this too. Given the makeup of this division, this team could absolutely finish in a wild card spot as well. They could absolutely sneak up, grab 4th place, and snag it from like a Carolina Hurricanes or a New York Islanders. You know, teams of that nature, murky in the middle, right? There's nothing that says they can't, but they got to stay injury free. So we'll see how that plays out. Any final thoughts in the Metropolitan Division?
This is going to be a weird year, I think.
It's got to be murky. Our final standings, as Hardhead Hockey sees it, we got the New York Rangers finishing 1st, New Jersey Devils in 2nd, New York Islanders in 3rd, Carolina Hurricanes in 4th. We got the Washington Capitals in 5th, Philadelphia Flyers in 6th, Pittsburgh Penguins in 7th, and the Columbus Blue Jackets in 8th. If you disagree with any of that, or if you agree, reach out, let us know. I'll send you a sticker. I'll send you it this week. So let us know what you think. Everybody ready for the Hard Hats of the Week?
I want to put a little bit in there for this. I think the variance between all of these, like there's a chance we nail that lineup of teams. I think the points difference between like the Rangers and the Canes is still going to be pretty tight. I don't think anyone's going to run away with it either. I think that's a disclaimer to put in there.
Would you guys agree that this might be the toughest division in all of NHL?
In a way that isn't, like, it's tough because no team's going to stand out. I don't think it's tough like it used to be when it was like everyone's really good. Like there was a time where the Jackets won 16 straight games over the course of the season and they were like 3rd because the Caps and Pens were just that good. You know, this was a division where you could set your watch to the Pens and Caps being top 2 and everyone else was fighting for 3rd and the wild card spots. And those teams themselves would be like really good. We've seen really good Islanders teams. We've seen, you know, pretty good Rangers teams. I mean, get kind of like not left out, but not necessarily at the top of the heap because it used to be really tough. And it's like I said, it is tough. I think it's tough in a different way.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't say toughest division. I think that'd probably go to either the Atlantic or the Central. You can maybe flip a coin there, but I think it's the tightest division. The separation between 1 and 8 in this division is tighter than the separation of 1 and 8 in any other division. So
yeah. There you go. That's well said. That's what I was trying to say at the start, but that's why you're the host, Trent.
I appreciate that. So that's it with the Metro. We finished up the Atlantic a couple weeks ago. Now we're going out west, boys. We're going out west. Next week, we're going to kick off the Central Division before we make our way all the way to the West Coast with the Pacific Division. So looking forward to those. Got a lot of hot takes there. And stay tuned with us the entire time. The Hard Hats of the Week this week are sponsored by Leroy's Bar. Located in the heart of Worcester, Ohio, Leroy's establishment has provided cheap pitchers and a safe haven for all of the Fighting Scots of Worcester since 1969. Make your reservations today. And boys, while we're all through together, let's just pour one out for some good times at Leroy's that we used to have together.
Sure.
All right.
Times.
I'll kick us off here. I got my hard hat of the week just wrapped up. Denver Broncos won their first preseason game under the helm and leadership of rookie quarterback, hopefully rookie sensation, Bo Nix. It looked like a different Broncos team out there. An offense that actually moved the ball down the field is a refreshing and welcome sight. Feel like I haven't seen that in about 10 years. So it's really, really exciting to see. And I hope we can keep that momentum rolling because that was fun to watch, even for a preseason game. And that's probably a lot of false confidence because it is the preseason. But, boy, I'm looking forward to watching this Bo Nix kid play.
When you see a quarterback that gives you a little bit of hope, it's invigorating. So, no shame.
Grant, I was telling Trent, Quinn Meinerz, the number 77 for the Broncos, he's a D3 guy.
Oh, is he really?
Yeah.
I did not
Played
know
for
that.
Whitewater. Now, Whitewater's like,
pretty top of it.
Yeah.
D3.
But he's legit.
Yeah,
You
that's
should
cool.
watch his highlights. Yeah, pretty cool.
What was his name?
Quinn Meinerz,
Okay.
77.
He's a big boy. He's a lineman.
Big.
Okay. All right. I'll give it a look. Always down for stuff like that.
All right, Mitchell.
Yeah, my hard hat, we were talking about this, Trent. I think it goes to U.S. women's basketball. I mean, is that right? Their 8th straight Olympic gold medal. That's pretty cool. I think they barely beat France, which was cool to see the women's and the men's playing France in the gold medal game. But yeah, 8th straight gold medal. That's pretty dominating, I would say. Wouldn't you boys agree?
Yeah, we run basketball in this country. As we should.
Yeah. Track and field was pretty dominant. Honestly, so many Olympic performances were dominant. The whole U.S. team put on an absolute clinic. Seemed
It's
like
been fun.
So many different events. The medal count speaks for itself. So Team USA across the board, just congrats to all the athletes. It's awesome show. Been awesome.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed. We mentioned it earlier, but like Peacock has knocked it out of the park. NBC they might be the real winners when you think of like the business side of all this, which is crazy to think about because they were really low on my list as far as like sports media. They kind of had a bad taste in my mouth after their NHL production, but that's something else we can talk about in the summer as we get going because that new NBA TV deal, the more I read into it, the more I'm just blown away by it. And the NHL's got to keep up. I know we always compare them to the NBA because they kind of exist on the same calendar, but per year revenue, they're squeezing out of their product compared to the NHL and a lot of other leagues is insane. But tying that back into the Olympics, I don't know. Peacock probably picked up a ton of money this summer with some new subscribers and stuff. I don't know, dude. Mike Hall Jr., defensive tackle, Cleveland Browns, Ohio guy, had a great game. Browns lost their preseason. Trent got me thinking about football pretty early, but thanks, Trent.
No problem.
Yeah, no, like you said, don't want to read too much into these games. Similar to preseason hockey. It's preseason for a reason. Coaches are doing different things. What you got to look for is kind of effort and one-on-one battles and just how guys maybe stand out within their moments that are on the field. And we got a big Midwestern Rust Belt D tackle up in Cleveland. Ohio State guy. Texted my buddies the other day. I'm buying my stock in him early from what we're seeing. So
What round did he get picked?
Yeah. You asked me too quickly. I want to say 5th or 6th.
Yeah. So he's not good.
Don't quote me on that. The draft stuff, I get lost on me a little bit, but yeah, he went to Ohio State. He's from Cleveland. I love that. I'm a sucker for that in any type of sport. When it's a guy like playing for their hometown team, I'm instantly like all around them. Yeah.
It's safe to say through the offseason and the preseason, from a GM perspective or a hypothetical GM perspective, you're looking for promise. And if you're like us, that's why you tune into this show. We love to play hypothetical GM. It's no secret. Through our primers of the Metro and the Atlantic divisions, we found a lot of promise. A lot of fans should be very excited about their teams. Hardhead Hockey, we love you guys. We'll talk to you next week about the Western Conference. The Waffle House All-Stars are signing off.